After Jey Uso's shocking heel turn on Friday Night SmackDown this past week, there have been new reports about what the plans are for a new stable when it comes to the WWE Champion Roman Reigns, the Usos and Paul Heyman on Friday nights. Now, according to reports from WrestlingNews.co, plans are in place to form a new stable around Roman Reigns and the Usos and other people. This comes from an anonymous source that WrestlingNews.co are citing inside WWE, who have suggested that WWE plans on forming a stable around Roman Reigns and his cousins, the Usos. Now, according to the report, the source says, quote, "This story is meant to elevate Roman, but also bring Jimmy and Jey up to the next level as well." Now, this storyline has and will coincide with the heel turn by Jey Uso Friday night on SmackDown when he attacked former WWE Champion Daniel Bryan. It is also believed that Jimmy Uso will join this faction later on once he is cleared to return, or maybe even sooner than then as an on-screen character. But they will all join the fold later, as both brothers express their reluctance to join the tribal chief in his faction, but eventually fall in line with the big dog's plan. Now, the source also told WrestlingNews.co that fans can expect to see some major changes in the Usos overall in terms of their characters on WWE TV, as the duos will be expected to wrestle completely shirtless like their cousin, which I guess people are interested in. We're going to be seeing a completely reinvented Roman Reigns. As he's mentioned, he's had some tweaks to his character, obviously, as the heel turn. We've also seen some tweaks when it comes to his ring gear, obviously wrestling shirtless now. There is new music expected to come soon, and that is also going to be the same when it comes to Jey and Jimmy Uso. As I mentioned, the stable will receive completely new entrance music, and the tag team's current theme, Done With That, the Day One remix, will be replaced. Obviously, I think that's a CFO music as well. That's a CFO theme, so that explains why that is going to be replaced as well. This is all according to this report by WrestlingNews.co. The long-term goal of this faction, the source states, is to, of course, maintain Roman Reigns' dominance as the current WWE Universal Champion on SmackDown, and also there is likely that during this run as a faction, the Usos will reclaim the SmackDown Tag Team Championships from the current champions, the Street Profits. However, the aforementioned plans for the Usos will be put on hold until Jimmy Uso is cleared to wrestle. There have been previous reports that after he sustained his injury during the ladder match at WrestleMania 36 earlier this year, that he could be back in the ring by December or likely January of 2021. It has also been suggested that Reigns and the Usos storyline has been mapped out for the next several months at least, with a bit of foreplanning, which is unlike many WWE storylines, quite frankly, and that the WWE universe can expect the stable to become whole sometime during the next couple of months. In fact, it has been also stated during this report that the WWE chairman himself, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, is apparently completely on board with the way that Roman Reigns and the Usos, the storyline, has been progressing in recent weeks. So, barring any injuries to Roman Reigns or, of course, the Usos, or any unexpected circumstances, that is the plan going forward, that we will get this heel version of the bloodline that a lot of people have been speculating about, wanting to see for years at this point. And as I mentioned, the idea of this Roman Reigns and the Uso stable isn't that of a far-fetched concept. Many people have wanted this and have speculated about this and hoped that WWE would do this on television for a long time, and the pieces have been there. Obviously, you've got the family connection. They are cousins. The Usos are cousins with Roman Reigns, twin brothers, the Samoan dynasty, all of that fun stuff. So this is a story that is getting widely praised and a lot of people are engaged with and really excited about. So it's a very exciting development when it comes to Roman Reigns and the Usos. Now, this past week, as I mentioned on SmackDown, not only did we have Jey Uso turn heel by attacking Daniel Bryan, he also got a clean and decisive victory over Daniel Bryan, which means, and I said this at the time, and I've done a couple of videos about this at this point, that Jey Uso now has clean victories on Friday Night SmackDown over both former WWE champions AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan. So the pieces are there, the booking is there, that Jey Uso is being treated as a legitimate big star in WWE. If you're beating former WWE champions like AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan clean on SmackDown, you're being pushed. So that is evident of where WWE sees this. And I was surprised when it came to the heel turn by Jey Uso on SmackDown, because I didn't see it coming, but it was very well done. And as I mentioned previously, a lot of people have spoken about possibly getting a heel version of the Bloodline, and this talk has gone back, gosh, even back to 2015 when they were actually a stable on screen as babyfaces on Monday Night Raw. But a lot of people really started to speak about this once again, this heel version of the Bloodline, when Roman Reigns returned back at SummerSlam, and we've got the heel turn, and everyone has wanted to see this and it was excited that this could possibly happen. So the fact that we're possibly getting this, or it looks more likely that we're getting this, is absolutely awesome. And I've praised this version of Roman Reigns to the moon and back, and I'll continue to do it because it's absolutely fantastic. I spoke about the range of emotion that Roman Reigns showed at Hell in a Cell. It was incredible. It was incredible. At one point in the match, this guy's in tears. He's in the middle of the ring, he's crying, he's saying, I don't know who I am anymore, and he's almost curled up in a ball, and you have sympathy for him, and his cousin Jey Uso had sympathy for him, and then he chokes out his other cousin Jimmy and forces his cousin to say, I quit, and then as soon as the bell rings, he's dead behind the eyes. He's evil. It was brilliant, and I made this comparison before, and I think it really stands out now that we are going to get this faction with the Bloodline. He being Roman Reigns, he's Marlon Brando. He's Vito Corleone in The Godfather. He's calling himself the head of the table. He's the head of the family, like in The Godfather. And it's almost at this point a mafia-style position. Roman Reigns is the Godfather. He sits back in his chair. He doesn't talk much. He doesn't get super involved, but he's this just intimidating, dominating, evil genius. And when he does get his hands dirty, when he does get involved, his actions are incredibly meaningful, and he doesn't raise his voice. And all of his actions, and the psychology here is what I really love, all of his actions are out of a perceived love and protection for his family. He's providing for his family, and it's just brilliant. It's real, it's gripping. Every week it's like a different chapter, there's a new development, and it's just great. It's absolutely fantastic. And I think the fact that the element of having the Usos kicking and screaming before they fall in line just makes it even better. They don't want to fall in line, and even at the start of the show, Jey Uso says that he hates Roman Reigns, and he questions what the Universal Championship has done to his cousin, and to me that was the genius of it all. Roman Reigns insisted throughout all of this, you will fall in line, eventually you will understand, and eventually Jey Uso did understand, and Jimmy will be next. Jey Uso said at the end of the SmackDown Friday night, he said, I understand now. He fell in line, and it's just brilliant, and I can't praise it enough. And I've mentioned it before, and I mentioned it in this video about Roman Reigns as Vito Corleone. It's almost like a Samoan version of The Godfather. And Paul Heyman, yes, he's not part of the family, but he's the advocate, and he's like the lawyer, and it's elevating the Usos, and it's just fantastic to see because, yes, in the report by WrestlingNews.co, they mentioned that the Usos are likely going to become SmackDown Tag Team Champions again, and that's fine, that makes sense. That faction holding all the gold on SmackDown would be quite a sight to see, actually. But I think also it shows with Jey Uso's recent victories over Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles that they can be single stars, they can be a tag team, but they don't need to be stuck at the hip just because they're twins. They can be something more. And this faction with Reigns, with the Usos, and with Paul Heyman is absolute money. But I do think that we could, and I think I would like to see more members to be added in there too. And I know some people will raise an eyebrow at that because, pun intended by the way, I know in the past factions have been ruined by adding too many members on screen. The NWO, right, the New World Order, and WCW is the best example of that. But I think if you're going to be playing the storyline that this is truly a family, then they need to add in more family members. And I think some members you can consider being added in here are maybe Nia Jax. I think it's crucial to have a female member, and she can appear on SmackDown even though she's drafted to Monday Night Raw during the draft. She is currently one half of the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. She's The Rock's cousin, so she's part of the family, and I think having a female member in there is so important too. I've mentioned this when it comes to Naomi and the Hurt Business, and I think the same applies to Nia Jax. If you have a female member of the family, not only does it make it feel more real, but you can hit every aspect of the show. You don't just have Roman Reigns in the main event, you don't just have the Usos in the tag team scene or single scene, but then also you have Nia Jax in the women's division as well. And again, I think it adds that element of realism, and it's another aspect to the family that I think is very interesting, and it's also a connection to The Rock there as well. Now, some people have speculated if they're going to do a heel version of the Bloodline, could they add in Samoa Joe? Now, Samoa Joe is not necessarily a family member. Of course, he doesn't have the family ties. He could be a fun addition to that one, but I think it's very, very unlikely that Joe gets involved in all of this, purely because, one, he's a commentator on Raw at the moment, and he's not officially part of the family. And I think they want to keep this storyline as close to reality as possible. And once you start adding in people that aren't actually part of the family, I think that takes people out of it. So I think it's unlikely we would have someone like Samoa Joe be involved there. But what about Afa and Sika of the Wild Samoans? Now, I absolutely loved their involvement at Hell in a Cell. When they crowned their son and nephew as the tribal chief in Roman Reigns, I thought it was just brilliant. And these guys, I mean, what more needs to be said about them? They are legitimate legends. The WWE Hall of Famers, they are the most legitimate cornerstones of the Samoan professional wrestling dynasty when it comes to WWE and just the wider pro wrestling business. And look, do they need to be regular characters on the show? Because I'm sure some people, that would be the counter argument to that. Well, they can't be regular characters, they're too old, blah blah blah. They don't need to be on the show every week. They can do cameos just like they did at Hell in a Cell, for big pay-per-views, for Survivor Series, for the Royal Rumble, for WrestleMania. Have them in a couple of the promos, have them in promos filmed at their house. They don't even need to come to the arena, they don't even need to come to the WWE Thunderdome. They can shoot stuff at home. It just elevates the talent. It elevates the likes of Roman Reigns and the Usos by having their presence there. It's reality, and it's all about presence. And you think about the shows like The Sopranos and other sort of mafia style things, you always have the family involved, and you also always have the parents, and the head of the family, in this case Roman Reigns, takes care of the parents, the elders of the tribe. And I think that's the same thing here if you had the Wild Samoans involved, and I think it would be just a fascinating dynamic. Because I think this is why this storyline's been so widely praised, is because it's not even almost pro wrestling anymore. This is like a gritty HBO sort of crime drama or something like that. I think it's why the storyline is so good and why everyone is so on board with this, because it's not wrestling TV, it's good TV. It's objectively good TV. Forget pro wrestling. It's like something, if you were flicking through the channels, you would see on HBO or Showtime or AMC or something like that. It's emotional, it's engaging, and most importantly, it's real. So what other family members could be added in there? I think you could also consider adding in Rikishi. I think if you're going to have the Usos in there, I think having a spot for Rikishi in there as a regular character would be very interesting. Of course, he's the father of Jimmy and Jey Uso. And again, Rikishi isn't going to work matches. His in-ring career is over. But he's a WWE Hall of Famer. And I think as a character, having just a body in there, and again, adding legitimacy to this family faction, I think that would be very interesting. And once again, it's real. And I think of some of the scenes that they could do, WWE, if they had someone like Rikishi in there. Can you imagine the segment or the scene, the story, whatever you want to call it, if Roman Reigns humbles Rikishi in front of his sons, the Uso? We spoke about the Usos sort of falling in line but kicking and screaming in the process. Imagine he did that to their father. Or better yet, imagine Roman Reigns forces the Usos to humble their own father on the orders of Roman Reigns. I mean, that would just be excellent. That would just be another level of excellent, and again, a fantastic element of this story that WWE is telling on SmackDown. And I think you have to also look at the end goal. What's the end goal of this stable with Roman Reigns and the Usos? I think the end goal, again, whether we get it or not, I think the aim is to have someone eventually end this reign of tyranny of Roman Reigns. And who would that be? Well, it would have to be The Rock, the ultimate family member. Now, Roman Reigns is the head of the table and has everyone of his family falling in line except one man, and that is The Rock, who arguably is the real true head of the table in this family. He's the megastar, he's the icon, he's the man that broke free and truly provides for everyone in the family. And it eats up Roman Reigns, so much so that he wants to prove once and for all that he's the head of the table, not The Rock. The Rock can do his thing in Hollywood, but when it comes to the pro wrestling head of the table, when it comes to the head of the family, it's Roman Reigns, it's not The Rock. And The Rock tries to put Roman Reigns in his place by taking his WWE Universal Championship at WrestleMania, and that leads to the WrestleMania match, the WrestleMania main event, arguably the biggest WrestleMania match that WWE can do right now. It just writes itself. It's a natural story progression, and it would just be amazing. It would be absolutely amazing, and it's the biggest match I think that they can do in WWE right now. So would that happen? What are the chances of that happening? It will depend, of course, on the schedule of The Rock. The Rock's schedule will dictate that. Because you look over the last 4 or 5 years, The Rock has had several planned matches for WrestleMania. He had a planned match against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 30. Of course, that didn't happen. We know what happened at WrestleMania 30 when it comes to Brock Lesnar. He had a planned match for Triple H at WrestleMania 32. That's why they had the segment at WrestleMania 31 between The Rock and Ronda Rousey and Stephanie McMahon. And speaking of that, he was originally planned to team with Ronda Rousey against Triple H and Stephanie McMahon at WrestleMania 34. The Rock couldn't make that, and eventually that spot went to Kurt Angle. But every time when those plans have been in place, the schedule of The Rock wouldn't permit that to happen. So what's the difference in 2021? I'm not sure if there would be any. I think the difference might be here is the fact that it would be The Rock's last match. Well, hopefully, you know, I'd say coming out of a pandemic, it doesn't look like it, but maybe we'll have fans there, and maybe it's a way for The Rock to truly end his in-ring career with WWE and having that big match against the family member, keeping it in the family and truly passing the torch to Roman Reigns. I think that might be the goal there. So I think The Rock could be interested in that, but it's something I'm really excited about. This storyline is just the best thing going in WWE right now, and I think it's fantastic. I think it's absolutely fantastic. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on a potential faction with Roman Reigns, the Usos, Paul Heyman, and other members of the Samoan dynasty in professional wrestling? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be sure to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys and chatting pro wrestling with you in the comment section below, so be sure to drop a comment there. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button. Really just help us out here on YouTube, get up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestling News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.